Good morning. It's a beautiful day in July. I'm standing here on Eagle Mountain, which is overlooking the Sumas Prairie. Behind me is a vast prairie between two mountain ranges known as Sumas. And you can see below it is full of agricultural land, great for growing different crops, and full of barns and homes, but mainly for growing food. And I want to take us back for a minute in time and just imagine 150 years ago or more, and if we can picture this whole valley being underwater, which is quite a thing to think about. And it's by no accident that is now full of fertile soil for growing food. It didn't just start to happen. About 100 years ago or so, European settlers recognized the land as a shallow lake, and from their experiences in Europe realized that at the bottom of the lake was very, very fertile soil, ideal for growing a variety of different crops. And through technology and innovation, they built a series of dikes and used different pump stations and pump systems to redirect the water flowing from the Fraser River into the lake, and instead diverted it to drain the whole lake. So you can see this is just the sort of the one end, the west end of the valley, and it extends all the way down towards Chilliwack. And this valley is now just a vast plain, and we have tons and tons of crops growing down there that we're going to see in a few moments. So about 100 years ago, as I said, these European settlers realized what was at the bottom of the lake. They managed to drain it, and the government wanted settlers to come, so they actually parceled the land into pieces, and they built what they call hip roof barns that we're going to see again when we drive through. And these barns they actually built and gave to the settlers to encourage them to settle the land and start farming it. And so that's what they did, and the farmers settled it, started growing crops, and that's sort of how it all started. Now, of course, the land was inhabited before the European settlers got here. Aboriginal peoples living in the area of the Sumas band were already here, and so of course there was a cost, as there always is, to this sort of advancements. And so I've got a book here called Before We Lost the Lake, written by a guy named Chad Reimer, who looks all into the history of the Sumas Lake and into the history of the peoples that lived before here. And so while we have this incredible land that is growing food for people all over British Columbia, of course the people that lived here before who relied on the lake for their food and sustenance were displaced, of course. And so there's a cost to this sort of thing. And even now there's ongoing talks of reconciliation and reparations for the damages done there. So the plan for today and the rest of this video is we're going to be meeting with Bill Zylmans. I'm going to pick him up in a few moments. We're going to grab a cup of coffee and we're going to do a tour through the flats you see below us. Bill is a farmer from Richmond of W&A Farms, and he is an expert in all things agriculture. He's also a partner with BC Ag and the Classroom Foundation, who we discussed yesterday. And he provides the seed potatoes for over 500 elementary and middle and high school teachers throughout the province. And he provides those seed potatoes so they can run their Spuds and Tubs program. So he's been a partner with BC Ag and the Classroom Foundation for many, many years. And we're really excited to have him with us. And he's going to sort of take us through and look at all the things that are growing down there and talk about the land and how it's used and some of the issues that are going on and the challenges and the successes that he's faced over the years as a farmer in British Columbia. So we're going to head down now and meet with Bill. Hi there, Bill. Welcome. Come on in. Forgive me if I don't shake your hand.
Yeah. We're all rude these days, aren't we?
We are. I like your mask.
You like that, eh?
Yeah. Vancouver Aquarium?
Oh, yeah. Pretty hot, eh? But I'm going to take it off.
Yeah, well, I don't mind.
I trust you.
I don't mind too much.
I trust you. I don't know where you've been. I know where I've been. But
you're the first one. But...
Uh-oh.
All right.
Okay.
So we're off. So why don't you tell us your official name? I think because I know your company's not called Bill Farms. What's it called?
Well, let's go with the main one.
All right.
So my main farm company name is W&A Farms 2006. And the reason why it says 2006 is W&A Farms was started back in the early 50s by my parents.
Okay.
And W&A came from William and Ann.
William and Ann.
William and Ann. So then they came along and they had 2 kids. They called one Audrey and one William.
Which one are you?
I'm the W. I'm the William. I'm the worker of the crew.
All right.
So that was fine. Then the twist came when I got married.
Ah, I see.
And I married a Sandra. Well, now we got W&A Farms plural.
Yeah.
And so, but then we had 2 children and their names are Angela and William. So the W&A was revived.
Very nice.
And so now we're moving forward and it's 2006 because my parents have passed and that's the new name. And so probably a lot of people have seen some of my media stuff from the past, whether it's in the newspapers or on the radio or in TV, talking about something, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's too much rain, too much sun, too much crop, not enough employees, God only knows. But
very good.
I always speak for the industry, but I do get my plugs in.
Hey, that's nothing wrong with that. Hey,
There
you know, my middle name is William as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Great
man.
name. Great
Yeah,
name.
it's all right. I think it does me fine.
Yeah.
But your middle one.
Yeah,
Because mine name for the world is Bill. They know me as Bill, and yeah, some of my employees. So we're going to work at Bill Farm.
There you go.
And so that Bill Farm thing is not all negative.
Right.
But today we're off and doing some sightseeing.
We are. We're gonna go tour through the Sumas prairie over there. Hey.
Okay.
And hopefully you can share some of your wisdom or at least tell us about how much it's been too rainy or too sunny or whatever. Something like that.
I'll do a good job of giving you guys a good play-by-play of what we're seeing and what you should know, because we're speaking to teachers.
Yeah, we have about 30 teachers enrolled in agriculture in the curriculum through UBC, partnered with BC Ag and the Classroom Foundation, who helps fund it. And this year we're all online, so normally we'd have this would not be a truck, we'd be in a van, and we'd have 30 people or so behind us that you'd be talking to. So you got to imagine that you're still talking to 30 people who want to know what you have to say.
All right.
Even if they don't know it yet.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
They will, by the end, they'll either be thankful that they know me or they'll be blessed that they haven't had to see me in person. God only knows. But, well, yeah. And of course, in the past, I've done some of those bus tours and I've spoken to them directly and given them a few of my top stories or what have you that I can help to enlighten about agriculture. And just as a caveat to that, I've been farming all my life. I'm 63 years old now, and I'm still enjoying it. And my wife keeps telling me, "When are you going to retire?" I says, "Well, it's not so much fun anymore." And she says, "Well, will you please start having a little less fun?"
What do you like most about farming?
I love planting crops and watching them grow, and then of course the harvest is always the key factor because it's the fruits of our labor when you're harvesting your crop. And so a good crop is always a great experience and a great time for the whole season to wrap up in the fall.
Yes.
So we're gonna go and have a coffee first.
Yeah, I thought we'd grab a coffee here. I don't know, have you ever seen that show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee? With Jerry Seinfeld?
No, I guess I'd have to say I'm not really much of a TV guy.
No.
But that's okay. I can believe you.
Yeah, well, I've watched the show a couple of times, and it's kind of funny.
Oh,
but
well, there you go.
We may not be as funny as Jerry Seinfeld, but we'll do our best.
We'll do what we can do. We'll do what we can do.
So you're a farmer. What are your main crops you grow?
So, for the start, I says I'm a mixed farmer. A lot of people think I'm a mixed up farmer. We better order our coffee before I get into that.
Before I run this person over here.
Yeah, don't run over the gardener. He's old, but you'll pay for a young one.
Yeah. What do you like?
Just,
how can I help you?
just a medium double.
Hi there, I'll have a medium double and a medium with 2 cream.
Medium double, medium 2 cream. Anything else for you?
That's all.
All right, 2390 at the window, please.
Very good. This one's yours, this one's mine. All right, thank you very much.
We're good. Let me put this
Man,
away.
there's people walking in front of us all over the place.
This is Abbotsford. We've incorporated a lot of flowers into this area of the valley now, and whether it's gladiolas or God knows what they all are, nurseries have really started to step up in the Fraser Valley here.
There's big money in flowers, eh?
Oh, it is, and this year, especially through the COVID stuff, people are planting and enjoying. So, on the right-hand side, you'll see this is a field of potatoes. Doesn't look like potatoes, but the tops have been removed because they're large enough, and they're just sitting there waiting to be harvested for the market. Now, the reason why the tops are removed and they kind of look like they're in a flat stage is they don't want them to grow any further.
Okay.
So they're trying to hold the size, but keep them in the soil to keep the freshness and uniqueness, so that when they're harvested, they're going to hit the store shelves as a fresh, clean potato. And this year, weather-wise, we've been very fortunate because it's very cool. And in this sandier soil out here in Sumas Prairie, you would have to irrigate. Right. And so that brings me to the next field on your left. We have turf farming also that has come from nowhere.
It's like a golf course.
Exactly. You got turf on the left, turf on the right, and we have different methods of irrigation that I wanted to speak a little bit about, because this is what they call a wheel line. So these, and they just roll across the field, dropping. They set the machine at 2 inches of water per acre, and it'll just cruise across the field and allow that to happen. Now, the beauty of having this is that the water is not wasted. These are really close to the ground, so the water doesn't get picked up by the wind, because water has become a very important part of agriculture today, and it's become very expensive for farmers, because the governments have put criteria around it, and you have to buy water rights now. Historically, I mean, you would think we're in a valley and we got water all around us, it'd be free, but no. And so farmers are being very, very cautious in how they use water. And so this is one of the methods. There's a few others, and I'm hoping throughout the tour we'll see the different ways.
And is this all going residential areas then?
Yep, this is all turf for the residential areas of Vancouver. Some of it even has been exported, but this sticks around in the province. These people have been known to ship it as far as Whistler and the Okanagan as well. But it's a soil, and historically they always said, oh, farmers, when they grow turf, they take so much soil away.
Right.
But they put a mesh down on the sand and they grow the grass through it, and they literally take not even a half an inch of soil away. So now we're going to turn right here on Marion. Now, Marion is the height of quality of soil in this whole valley.
Wow.
To the left, you'll see different cabbages been transplanted, and they're just growing. You know, there was some squashes here. So these are a little further stage than what we saw earlier, where those gentlemen were hoeing them. They better get over here pretty quick. There's a few weeds coming up.
Yeah.
And then you'll see cucumbers, a different type of plant. Again, and then next to it is, on the left side here, is Belgium endive, also known as witlof. It's a Dutch lettuce that they grow the roots, and then they cut the roots off once they've harvested, and they transplant the roots in a black lighted greenhouse, and then the top, and it's a delicacy vegetable that's really used in high-end restaurants, and it's a very everyday vegetable in Europe, but here it isn't. Some people may know radicchio, and it's in the same family as radicchio.
They really hill up every row, about 6 inches it looks like.
Yeah, and they do that specifically for water and to protect the weeds. So when they do irrigate, the water will sit in the trenches, and then the root system will gather it. Here's a gentleman on the right. He's doing the labor-intensive part. He's going to move the wheel line to move it around. Now, if you look really closely, and I hope they can catch this on the video, there's looks like little tiny sticks all over that field.
Yeah.
And that's in the grass. That's primarily put there so that the mesh that they put down does not get airborne.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah, so you can see they're all little tiny sticks, and they just deteriorate and disappear afterwards, so they won't affect anything. But yeah, and turf, through all of this pandemic and stuff, the gardening world has just been booming. They've been doing nothing but big rides to the bank. To your left is a field of winter wheat. So this will be growing and harvested probably in the next 3 weeks. So they plant that in the fall, again for rotation, for crops, and then they'll use it for a cover crop later on. Next to it is another grain, and that is barley. Now barley is grown quite intensively in British Columbia because it's one of the #1 grains that we use in all our feed mixes for the chickens, chicken mash, and turkeys, and even cattle. And so now, and right next to that is a field of peas. And on the right hand side is another field of peas. Now these are getting close to being ready to harvest, and why I say that is you can start to see some browning in the fields in there. And I'll bet you if we were to wander out in there, we could have a little feast. But we're not those people that go in and steal.
No, of course not. And, and they don't plant 6 rows of peas that are like cow peas around them?
No. They gave up on that.
Okay.
These guys are polite, but they got a row of trees here, right?
Well, yeah, that's true. You can't drive eating these.
And here's another field of potatoes on the left that's ready for harvest. Now, there's 2 different scenarios here. You can see one is a little greenier or browner than the other.
Yep.
Probably because of their different varieties, #1, and this one was getting larger quicker, and it could have been a red and a white, not sure at this point. But the market is really soft right now for vegetables. And here on your right, you'll see another field of, and that I would believe, to me, looking at how close the plants are put together, those are probably zucchini. We grow a lot of zucchini here in this area. For vegetables for the retail outlets.
Are they smaller than they were last year, like this time of year?
Yeah, everything is a tad behind because it's been so wet and cool.
Because I remember last year about this time when we drove through, you could see the zucchinis were ripe and ready, and they were and there was a whole bunch that was lying in the field not being picked.
Yeah, well, we might see that later, so I'll have a story about that later. So here's potatoes that are different varieties, and you can see the imaginary line right there. There's 2 different colors of green, so they'd be 2 different varieties. Now they're past the bloom stage, so I can't tell you which varieties they are, but unless I go out there and pull up a plant. But traditionally, russet potatoes are a white potato with a white flower. Red potatoes have a red flower, and then the yellow one is the one that really can throw you for a loop because it has a beigeier color to it, and sometimes a red tinge to it. So, but this area has so much diversity in agriculture, and that's a beautiful part of it.
Yeah. I thought we were in the prairies for a second there.
Well, we were,
wheat crops.
and now we're right. Yeah, we do it all out here, man. We're, as I said, even myself, we're a mixed farming operation out here, but sometimes we think we're mixed up. And then you got turf again. Now, if you look further out, and maybe on your right here you'll see. So you got a different set of irrigation scenarios, and this is another way. So on the right-hand side here, and this is an irrigation system that's really close. And this is a field of leeks, so the vegetable is leek. Last year you can see that there's some volunteer plants and there's some beans, but take a look at the way this irrigation system works. It's a high intensive line, and it has drop nozzles.
Wow.
And it's completely hydraulically controlled and operated, and will move across the fields at the speed that you set it at. Very unique and very modern, and again crop specific. So those lines are really low to the ground now, those hose lines, and of course as you have a corn crop or something, they can retract them up higher so we don't lose any water. More peas. Peas are a hot commodity. The one guy that is in the processing of peas in Vancouver, he contracts with a lot of these.
Those more the shelling peas, or are they? Okay.
Yeah. And here, this is probably a field, and people say, how do you know that? This is a field that had a crop on it and now has a transplant, and looking at the leaves of those transplants, that's probably broccoli. And a little bit of knowledge that I have, this was in potatoes already that was harvested. So they double crop some of these fields too.
Okay.
They can get on real early in late February to grow an early potato, like we do with the Spuds and Tubs program. They harvest them in June and they'll turn around and put something else. This looks like onions. There. And of course on the right hand side we got a field of corn. Now corn is really small this year compared to other years when we've done this tour.
Yeah.
And that's weather related.
Like the heat.
Corn loves heat.
Yeah.
When it's really hot, 25, 28 degrees Celsius, it'll grow 4 or 5 inches in a day.
Wow.
And right now it's just kind of stagnant. And there are some fields throughout, because of all the rain we've had, they've been flooded. Like the corn isn't even growing. And of course more peas on the left.
So when they harvest that corn for the cows, they harvest the whole plant, right?
They take the whole thing right down, so the whole stalk. So when I talk about the fact that, it's great feed, but it takes a lot out of the soil, they put a little tiny seed down there, and they take all that mass away. So that's huge.
You go straight or turn?
Yeah, let's go straight for a second, because I wanted to towards the potato world, and it knocks off the vines from the plant versus a spray application that would basically kill the plants down. And as farmers are getting more environmentally concerned and more friendly and trying to do the best things for the environment, we're trying to move away from as many chemicals as possible. And so that machine there is a newer way now to get rid of the foliage from the plants and to naturally allow the potato tubers to mature. What I mean by mature is when they're sitting in the soil and the skin will set on them, and so the red skin will stay firmly on the skin, on the potato, and the russet skin will stay on there, so you don't have the flakiness and for the opportunity that bacteria will set into it. So earlier we took some shots and they looked pretty brown and black, those fields, and this is just freshly done today. So it would look like those other fields in a few days. But kind of a neat thing to see, because as a lot of people are concerned about farmers possibly not being environmentally friendly and not good stewards of the land, we have really come a long way. And agriculture is doing its huge part now in trying to integrate into the newest possible ways to preserve the environment, to be conscious of chemicals, and
Returning, right?
Yep. And what people experience and not having the contamination of that.
I grew some potatoes at home this year, and I dug them up the other day, and they were full of these little yellow worms. They drive me nuts. I can't even eat them. What are they?
Wireworms.
Wireworms.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
well, and that's one of the big reasons. So wireworm is a huge problem throughout agriculture in a lot of different groups, whether it's potatoes or cabbage plants. They'll eat the roots. And so what you have to do to stay ahead of those little puppies is rotate. Move your vegetables around your garden. So if you want to have a 10 by 10 garden, you should really have a 30 by 30 garden, because you should do a 3-year rotation. That's the best practices, and that's what agriculture tries to do with a lot of its crops, but it doesn't always quite work that way. But in a lot of cases, that's the best practice. So off to the far right towards the mountain, you can see a field of corn in the distance, and it's coming into tassel already, so that would be the clear giveaway that it's sweet corn.
Right. You can tell it's shorter too.
Yeah, definitely. And here on your right is carrots.
Oh yeah.
Now, what we've done in the past, we've gone out and pulled a carrot out with the teachers, remember?
I do. We can still do that.
So off to the right, you can see between the rows a lot of the zucchini that were picked and are left behind. And the main reason for that is the strict ruling from the wholesalers to say that their zucchinis have to be 6 inches long or 10 inches long, and they won't tolerate anything outside of those measurements. And they have to be straight, they can't be curved, And so the farmers just pick the bad ones off and just leave them. Now someone would say, well, why don't they pick them and sell them cheaper, or give them to the food banks or something? Primarily for the farmer, it's just too labor intensive, and they want to cut their losses. And so it just doesn't happen. They just sell the #1 product, and the rest just stays behind. And here are some raspberries. Now raspberries have really dropped off in the Fraser Valley. Blueberries have just taken over completely. Raspberry industry has just not been doing very well. So that's kind of the scenario there.
I got some worms in my raspberries at home too.
Really? Oh, well, they're not beggar pickers or choosers, you know. They take anything on. So here's something freshly planted, and that row cover again, that black plastic. And their little holes are in it, and they'll probably come along and pop the, I'm assuming some sort of maybe a cucumber or something that's going to take up a large area, looking at the distance between the holes in that plastic. But yeah, but beautiful field of carrots here.
Yeah. Should be ready to harvest soon, probably, hey?
I think so. I think so. They are probably harvesting already out here in some other fields. But yeah, so again, is the diversity. Now, do you guys talk at all about the history of this valley, where it came from?
Yeah.
And the scenario about the hip roof barns?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because to the left here is one that's been cleaned up and modernized and mechanized. And it's doing very well. So that's still a few heritage ones. There's not many of them left.
That would have been built like 100 years ago originally.
Exactly. There still is a few of them, and they were kind of important to have. Here is some of the mega homes starting to show in amongst the agricultural areas. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when some people were building these homes, they would practically put them in the middle of their farm.
Right.
And so we struggle with that on a daily basis. And some of your teachers would know, in the media there's been a lot of conversation about mega homes on farmland, whether they're in Richmond or throughout the valley. But
it just takes up valuable land that could be growing food, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And we don't want to condemn the people for building a huge home, but try to keep it to the road and have a minimum setback from the roads, that kind of stuff. It's really important to maintain the land base for your crops. And on the left here is one of thousands and thousands, did I say that? Thousands of acres of blueberries throughout this valley. Has really taken over control of this Fraser Valley now.
They look green still.
And yeah, they're running a little late, and the markets are going flat. It's a real problem child right now. There's way too much production of blueberries, and sales are off. And so it's definitely a challenge.
Bigger up there, maybe.
So as I spoke briefly about labor, here's the way that the blueberries, because of the cost, you can see this field has got lots of blue ripe berries already, and they're using mechanical pickers. So they've gone from probably each one of those machines replaces about 60 people per day. And that helps cut the cost. Unfortunately, those machines are worth a lot of money, but they pay for themselves in a couple, 3 years, just because there's less labor intensity. And through this COVID stuff, where agriculture really struggling to have enough labor on the ground here in the Fraser Valley to do all the work.
I want to be on one on the right. It's got a nice tent over it to keep the sun off you.
Yeah, like really, eh?
The guys on the left have to have the sun beating down.
Yeah, well, probably those guys that got the suntan, and those other guys want to get the suntan.
That's true. That's true.
You know, you got to be able to rotate and diversify, and you know, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. It's a nice field though, eh? They really keep that one up nicely.
See all the weeds are down, and a very picture perfect field. Yeah. Now, when you see right here on your left there, you see that big white piping there, that's the irrigation system. So that's another irrigation scenario, a different one. It's called drip irrigation. Right. So they run the little black line all the way down the row, in the middle of the row, and they do drip irrigation for the plants to get the moisture content. What they also can do, having that scenario, is they can incorporate some pesticides right through the drip irrigation. So there's no airborneness. It's right to where it needs to be. And so there's again no contamination for the public or any of that kind of stuff. And there's more blueberry fields on the right, and you can actually see those black lines there. I don't know if the camera will get it, how they go out of the ground and up into the middle of the road. But they have pretty near perfected growing blueberries to the T. And we have signed some serious contracts with China to take a lot of our blueberries. So hoping that that's going to help the industry, but they are struggling. So a lot of the, here on your right is actually a blueberry processing plant right incorporated into the farm now because of the magnitude of blueberries. That's an area of the farming community that they never had expertise in before, but it's kind of like a one-stop shop now. We grow them, we process them, we freeze them, we store them until the market allows us to deliver them. So you know, again, farming has become such an integrated program that as when I got into farming, I like watching things grow.
Right.
Plant the seed, watch it grow, harvest it, and Bob's my uncle. Well, now, and of course the most important part is I loved driving tractors.
Oh, yeah.
Well, as far as the tractors go, I get to buy them, sometimes fix them, and sell them. I never get to see one anymore.
Oh, man.
But today, farming is a full-time business. You're marketing, you are modernizing, mechanizing. Another field of corn here on the right. Potatoes on the left that are russet ones because they're white flowers. And carrots. But so the beauty of agriculture is there's always tomorrow. There's always next year. We didn't make it this year, and the challenges that keep coming up. And I thrive on a challenge. One time I had a scenario where and I used to grow all the dill cucumbers for the Vancouver market. And I had 2,000 cases in the cooler. And my wife, who's my sole partner in this whole operation, and she comes to me, and I'm the dreamer and I'm the promoter. She says, you have $12,000 labor invested in that cooler, and those cucumbers aren't going anywhere. And I go, just give me 48 hours, dear. And I worked the phones, and within 48 hours, those were gone. But under pressure is when I really thrive and work at it. And those are kind of gifts that I never thought I had. But it comes with time and communication. We're all in the computer age now, look at what we're doing today. But that wasn't where I came from. I came from the hands-on scenario. And when someone told me 10 years ago, Bill, you're gonna have websites, you're gonna have cell phones, you're gonna have 5 computers, you're gonna have cameras all around your farm, I would have told you to go where the sun don't shine. And here I am today. I'm monitoring all my employees from my phone. They need a new computer. Boss, we need a new computer, pay for it, whatever. So and agriculture is changing so fast, just like the rest of the world around us. And marketing has changed so much. Historically, I used to phone a guy up, a buyer for Safeway or whoever, and say, listen, I got 1,000 cases of cukes or beans or cauliflower. What's the market? Can we sell them? Can we work with you? Blah, blah, blah. Today, you send an email to the buyers telling them what you have available next week, and you will get an email back on Friday whether they want them, don't want them, or whatever might be. So what I've learned with this is, if I do that, I tell them I got 500 cases of cauliflower and I put a price on it. If I don't have a buy, that means my price is too high. If they buy them all, my price is too low. If they take some of them, then I know I'm in the ballpark.
There you go.
Now that's the scenario that we're playing with today. So it's really a changing world, and agriculture is the key to that, and that's the excitement factor to keep me involved, because I thrive on a challenge. I thrive on the fact that we're going to move forward and watching things grow, and how can we make a difference.
Well, it seems to me too that this kind of a challenge, attitude of taking on a challenge, is what we need to have for the idea of feeding a growing world and an increasing population with more pressures coming from all sorts, whether they're political or environmental or whatever they are. But having people like yourself who are willing to take on those challenges and be innovative and find ways to grow more efficiently and that sort of thing is pretty vital.
It is. It's huge, and probably one of my key points in my world is when I travel, and I travel a lot for marketing purposes. Obviously, I've been house ridden since Christmas of this year virtually, but when I come home and I get back into my truck at the airport, and I'm full of ideas and full of dreams, and my wife goes, okay, reality, come back down. I'm going, no, we're going to buy this machine, we're going to take this challenge on. And then I go back to the farm and I have another look around. I go, oh, what I saw there in California might not just work this time here. So, but yeah, it's sort of a gift that I really enjoy, and I think unfortunately I'm going to be farming until after I die.
Well, it's been a lot of fun driving through the prairie here, Bill, and I think we've learned a lot. We're looking forward to our question and answer period now, and we'll hopefully learn a whole bunch more.
Well, yeah, and I'm hoping that you folks have got something out of this. It's a different way of approach. We've never done this before, but yeah, I look really forward to the questions that you people come up with, because that's what makes me think and makes me produce the thoughts, and you become much smarter in agriculture. Thank you for the opportunity to do this for you.